Never meant to be. Fanfic My Little Pony by Priceless 911. Prologue. I am a changeling. The lone royal guard made his way through the massive rocky gorge that sat just outside Equestria's borders, with no expression on his face to show any sign of emotion. The royal guard stopped in the middle of the gorge and stood still as if he were waiting for something. Almost immediately, a swarm of changelings flew out of hidden holes in the rocky landscape and swarmed around the lone stallion like bees around a hive. Showing no concern, the royal guard stood still, looking forward, as the changelings began landing, one after another, until all of them were standing around the lone pony, watching him and his expressionless stare. With the buzzing coming to a complete stop, the surrounding changelings and the lone guard shared a brief moment of silence until Queen Chrysalis, the queen of the changelings, flew out from a hole in the cliffside and landed in front of the guard. Seeing the large changeling standing before him, the lone guard bowed in respect as she smiled. Report. The guard rose from his bow as he turned into a changeling and replied, "It's as we expected, Your Majesty. Captain Shining Armor and Princess Miyamura Cadenza are to be married within the following week." Queen Chrysalis smiled as she replied, "Excellent. Have you determined a time and place for us to meet?" The changeling nodded. "Yes. Every Sunday at about 1 in the afternoon, the princess, along with 2 guards, likes to take a stroll through the Canterlot Gardens. I happily volunteered as one of the guards, but I'm afraid my partner in this task will meet with an unfortunate accident prior to this mission. So I believe this will be the best time to make the switch, Your Majesty. I have also discovered a cave below the castle that can be used as a hiding place for the princess, at least until after we take the kingdom." Queen Chrysalis smiled. "Well done, Zeil. I knew you were the best changeling for this task. When Canterlot falls, we will have a new home and a new kingdom, filled with ponies who will have no choice but to share their love with us all." Zeil nodded. "I never had doubt in you, Your Majesty." Queen Chrysalis smiled, pleased. "Of course you didn't. You are among the most loyal of my subjects, and soon your loyalty will pay off. Return to Canterlot and continue posing as a royal guard for just a little while longer. Then, once I take the place of that pathetic alicorn princess, I will take over from there." Zeil bowed. "As you command, Your Majesty. I will obey." Then, as he rose from his bow, Zeil transformed back into the pony guard, turned around, and began trotting back to Equestria. Chapter 1. I am wounded. Zeil hovered above Canterlot in his changeling form as he smiled, looking down at the panicking streets below. Seeing that his task to infiltrate Canterlot had succeeded, he felt nothing but pride as he watched the changeling army sweep through the city, capturing the pony inhabitants. As he smiled with pride, Zeil looked near the city gate and saw a few changeling warriors fighting a Canterlot royal guard, though the guard was holding his own against the small number of changelings. It was easy to see that he was clearly outmatched as he pushed the changelings away and panted in exhaustion. As the guard tried backing away from his foes, Zeil decided to finish the fight quickly. He dove from the sky, tackled the guard, and pinned him to the ground. "I got this one, go get the rest." The changelings nodded in agreement and flew away to find More ponies to capture. With the guard pinned, the stallion looked up at his enemy. Why are you doing this? Zeil looked down and transformed into his royal guard. Disguise. Like you. I am loyal to my ruler. The guard stared in shock at the changeling in his royal guard form. See Corporal Stan? Zeil held the appearance while he smiled wickedly. Funny, isn't it? To find your own species as your enemy. Well, it's not like I was lying the whole time. No pony ever asked if I were a changeling, now did they? The guard sneered. You traitorous parasite. Zeil smiled as he held the guard's spear to his neck. Now, that's not a nice thing to say. I won't deny it, but it's still not nice. Feeling the spear blade on the back of his neck, the guard replied, the princess will defeat you and your queen. You have no idea what the elements of harmony are capable of. Zeil sighed. Look around you, soldier, the city is completely under our control. Seeing the city like this can only mean one thing. Your princess is already defeated. Just like you. With that, Zeil raised the spear with the intent of bringing it down into the back of the guard's neck, but as he started to drop it, a bright pink flash of light came from the Canterlot castle. Zeil stopped the spear to look toward it. He could only watch as the pink flash was followed by a magical barrier that started inside the castle and pushed outward in a massive wave, taking all the changelings, Queen Chrysalis included, with it. As Zeil saw the wave approach, he quickly raised the spear in a blocking manner, but when the barrier hit him, it pushed him off the pinned guard and tossed him into the air like a massive tidal wave. With no control over his movements, the changeling was flung skyward, his back slamming against the top of the city gate before he was thrown higher, flipping and spinning out of control. Though the impact against the city gate hurt. Incredibly, Zeil still tried all he could to regain control. He released the spear and opened his wings, trying to stop himself. However, with his velocity overpowering the drag of his wings, Zeil could only slow slightly as he veered off course from the rest of the changelings and started to fall short, toward a forest that sat a number of miles outside Canterlot. With little ability to stop, Zeil flew through the forest as the branches and limbs of the trees battered, bruised, and cut him while he broke through them like an unstoppable cannonball. It wasn't long before he finally encountered something he couldn't break through. He collided with a massive tree, breaking a few branches and being thrown upward before coming down and landing in thorn bushes on the other side of the large obstacle. With his body completely battered from head to tail, Zeil lay in the thorns, too racked with pain to notice them at first. As he slowly started to regain focus on his surroundings, Zeil rolled over, the thorns cutting deeper into his body, and slid off the bush onto the ground beside it, struggling to pick himself up. He tried to bear the pain as he felt something roll down his back that was heavier than the blood already dripping from his wounds. Curious, Zeil slowly turned his head to see that what had fallen off his back was his insect-like right wing. Though the sight concerned him, he decided to pay it no mind for now as he looked around, his head still rocking from wooziness. Zeil noticed that he had fallen deep into the Everfree Forest. As he looked at the damaged tree that had caused his sudden stop, he saw a light emerge from the other side and a shadow appear inside it. Knowing The light came from a doorway and the shadow from a resident inside the tree. Zeil struggled to push his wing under the thorn bush and stumbled behind it so he wouldn't be seen. Feeling sleepy from blood loss, Zeil watched from behind the bush as a zebra trotted around from the other side of the unusual home. Though he had never seen a real zebra before, Zeil knew that's what he was looking at. Having heard they resembled ponies but with stripes. First the zebra looked at the damage done to her home, then she looked into the bushes he was hiding behind and spoke, "Hello there? Is any pony around? Are you the source of this damage found?" With the zebra looking in his direction, Zeil knew it was only a matter of time before she discovered him, and with his injuries, there was no way he could defend himself or flee. Thinking fast, Zeil chose a form to take and used his natural abilities to change into a male zebra. As the zebra made her way around the bush, Zeil tried to hold himself up. She spoke in shock, "What? A zebra? I didn't expect to see. Wait, you're wounded. Please, come with me." She rushed to Zeil's side, helped him up, and guided him inside. "Please come, lay down, your injuries are quite bad, you've been through too much, with no protection or clad. It's a good thing I was home for this, I am glad." As the zebra helped Zeil into her home, he couldn't help but feel nervous. For one, he didn't know this zebra, so the chances of her liking changelings to begin with were very low. Second, even if she did like changelings, if word of their failed attack on Canterlot reached her, he would be in serious trouble. But with almost no other choice, all he could do was keep his disguise. He mumbled through his fatigue, "Please, help me." The zebra smiled peacefully. "Don't worry one bit, zecoras. Medicine will work, and knowing much about herbs is a most helpful perk." With Zakura helping him onto a table, Zeil lay down as she turned to her shelf. "Though I'm no doctor, I know many ways to help the wounded who've seen better days." With his blood loss starting to take effect, Zeil felt a little nervous. He knew a changeling could change everything about himself, including the texture of his skin and the color of his blood, and that he could keep this form even if he lost consciousness. It still didn't put him at ease, since he didn't know anything about this mare or her species. When Zakura finally found what she was looking for, he saw her pull out a small first aid kit. She opened it and took out a small canister that looked homemade. Curious, Zeil watched as Zakura opened the canister and dipped her hoof into the gel-like substance inside. She showed him and spoke, "This formula will help, but don't trust what you feel. Just lay very still. For the feelings aren't real." Zeil was confused by "aren't real," but he had almost no choice. Zakura rubbed the gel on his forehead, then wiped her hoof and started getting some bandages ready. Within a few minutes, the pain that covered almost his entire body seemed to go away, leaving the disguised changeling confused. As the pain faded from his forehead to the rest of his body, the feeling was replaced with a numbing sensation, not painful, but an absence. That made him feel like he was falling. Worried that he actually was, Zeil raised his head to look around, but Zakura gently set it back down. "Stay calm. My friend, I know what you feel. But you must stay calm if you want yourself to heal." When Zeil laid his head back down, he could see Zakura hard at work stitching some of his cuts, leaving him to feel nothing from her actions. Even then, he still felt like he was falling from high in the sky. This continued for about 20 more minutes as Zakura cleaned, stitched, and bandaged the many wounds all over his body, from the cut on his back that had removed his wing, to the thorns stuck in his legs, and even his side, which he knew had probably broken a rib or two. Then, after about 10 more minutes of endless work on Zakura's part, Zeil started to feel intense drowsiness. He fought to stay conscious but lost in the end. He didn't know how long he was out, but when he awoke, Zeil found himself lying in a bed with bandages covering almost his entire body. Worried, he lifted one of the bandages high enough to see that he was still in the zebra form. He sighed in relief. Good, she d. Thinking he was still at risk, Zeil silenced himself in case some pony could hear him, but as he looked around he could see he was completely alone in the one-room home. Worried that whoever had helped him would return soon, Zeil pulled the covers off and climbed out of bed. However, as soon as he put pressure on his hooves, his legs gave way and he fell to the ground with a pain-riddled grunt. With the pain of his wounds returning, Zeil struggled to pick himself up, but no matter how much strength he could muster, it wasn't enough to get off the floor. As he struggled, the front door opened and Zakura entered, trotting to the center table with a bag of herbs. As soon as she set the bag down, she looked over at Zeil and panicked at what she saw. No! My guest. You mustn't be standing, you must lay back down, and to this I'm demanding. Zakura rushed to his side and helped him off the ground and back into the bed. I gotta go. I can't stay here, he protested. Zakura shook her head. In your shape, I cannot allow. 4. Your wounds are too fierce, and your muscles won't endow. Zeil lay back in bed. But wait, exactly how severe were my injuries? Zakura began pulling herbs from her bag. Broken bones, deep cuts, much worse than ever seen. Well, you tried to stand, so you know what I mean. Zeil looked at his bandaged hoof. Well, I guess it beats dying, but how long will I be like this? For the next few days, you'll be in a weary state, Zakura replied, but shortly after that you'll be better than great. A few days, so what should I do till then? You can stay here with me, Zakura said with a smile. I will not mind one bit, since it never happened for a zebra to visit. Remembering he was in disguise, Zeil felt nervous. Oh. Yeah. I suppose we aren't in many around here, are we? So far from home, this pony nation reside, Zakura said. But I made it my home, and this I decide. But what about you? Were you forced to disembark? I ask this simply, 'cause you have no placement mark. Although Zeil was confused at first, he quickly realized what she meant as he looked to a small opening in the bandages on his flank. He realized one very important thing: through his pain, he had forgotten to give himself a cutie mark along with his disguise. He felt embarrassed to have forgotten something so crucial when taking a new form, but since it was too late, he decided to play along. Oh, yeah. That's why I'm here, in Equestria, that is. Zakura nodded as she started mixing the herbs into a bowl and grinding them. I see and understand, traditions all inscribe say that all who fail placement will be banished from the tribe. But from which of them did you reside? Not knowing anything about the nation Zakura was talking about, Zeil mumbled as he tried to think of a believable answer. Well, I guess I would say the tribe in, the center? Zakura turned and gave Zeil a curious look. A tribe in the center? Of the 4 tribes in peace? I was not aware of a 5th, to say the least. Zeil hid his nervousness. Well, not many Zebra know of the 5th tribe, especially since, they aren't very liked by the rest. Zakura thought a moment. Well, I can't say I would know, since I left home long ago. Nonetheless, welcome. It's not often I see a same. So welcome. Might I have your name? Caught off guard, Zeil looked around, trying to think of a fake name. Oh, my name is ZZZ. His eyes wandered to a window where vines hung from a few branches outside. On impulse, he cleared his throat and continued, my name is Zine. Giving Zakura a hopeful look, Zeil waited. She smiled. Well, that's quite the name, and it's nice to meet you, Zine. And as for names, Zecora is mine. As Zakura smiled peacefully, Zeil smiled back, feeling lucky that his fake identity was working so far. After a brief exchange of smiles, Zakura returned to grinding the herbs. Well, Zine, I'm sorry to say, but how did you crash here? And from where, yesterday? Zeil tried to think up a good reply, but when none came to mind, he went with sarcasm. Well, I guess I was trying to see if my, talent was flying, but that wasn't it after all, was it? At first, Zakura gave him a blank stare, and he smiled in embarrassment. Then she covered her muzzle and giggled. Flying isn't your talent, that's easy to see. Neither is landing, since you crashed into a tree. Zeil nodded. Yeah, a tree, some branches, a few thorn bushes, and then the ground. Maybe I should just stick to trotting. I may live longer. As they laughed at the situation, Zeil started to feel something coming from Zakura. To a pony, this could easily be missed, but to a changeling, the feeling was all too familiar. She was flirting with him. Trying to ignore the sensation, Zeil changed the subject. So, if flying isn't my talent, then what is? Zakura finished laughing, turned back to the herbs, poured a small dab of water into the bowl, and mixed it into a fine paste. I cannot say. Each tribe's talent depends on their home, but for the 5th tribe, I can't say it's known. She turned back to Zeil and placed the bowl of paste in front of him. Now eat this. The taste isn't the best, but it will heal your wounds faster while you rest. Zeil looked at the brown paste. Is it safe to eat? It looks kinda gross. Zakura shrugged. Well, it isn't poison. It will heal you quite quick and prevent all your scars from being permanent. Now please lay down. Your bandages need change, and I'll ask that you hold still during this delicate exchange. As Zeil lay still, Zakura picked up a bag of bandages and began removing the ones from his body. He tasted some of the brown paste, but when the flavor hit him, he could only cringe as the foul taste filled his already aching head with even more discomfort. Luckily, the feeling was brief. And Zakura giggled at the face he made while trying to stomach the medicine. As she continued removing his bandages, Zeil tried to hold still as the pain in his healing wounds returned when exposed to air. Carefully, Zakura cleaned and rebandaged every wound until she reached the bandage that wrapped around his torso and covered his back. As she removed it, revealing a stitched laceration, Zeil looked and immediately became worried. It wasn't the number of stitches or the length of the cut that worried him, but the fact that the stitching on his back wasn't just closing a simple wound, it was closing the wound left when his wing had fallen off. Zeil thought to himself. With the wound closed, the chances of reattaching his wing were zero. Nevertheless, he knew the risk he would take if he said anything and revealed his true form. With a sigh of disappointment, he laid his head down and said nothing as Zakura cleaned this wound and rebandaged it, making the permanent decision to never fly again. Noticing his sigh, she spoke as she worked. I understand the pain you undoubtedly feel. For injuries like this, it seems unreal. Yeah, and to think what it means for me, oh, never mind. Feeling sorry for the depressed look on Zeil's face, Zakura smiled. You should count your blessings. You're still in one piece. If I weren't here, you'd die, to say the least. Zeil smiled at Zakura. You're right. I completely forgot. Thank you, Zakura. I know it won't mean much coming from a complete stranger. But thanks for saving my life. Seeing the gentle smile on his face, Zakura looked back at his wounds, avoiding eye contact as she blushed. Yes, well, it's a pleasure to assist the same of my kind. I wasn't expecting such a miraculous find. Now you sit back and rest. It's here that you will stay until you are healed and go about your merry way. When Zeil saw Zakura blush, he felt the same thing as before, confirming his theory. She had a crush on him. It was very faint and new, but definitely a feeling of attraction. However, for a changeling in his current position, all he could do was play along until he was healed enough to leave. He had never had interest in the affections of others, nor would he stick around to antagonize those feelings if he had a choice. Nevertheless, with his injuries too severe to trot and his identity concealed behind a clever disguise, he saw no reason to escape. So, with his disguise in mind, Zeil smiled peacefully. Thank you. It's been a while since I saw another zebra like myself, so I'm grateful it was you that I came across. Zakura smiled pleasantly and continued changing the fake zebra's bandages. In the border city of Trottingham, 2 royal guards dragged a chained changeling into the mayor's office. One spoke, Mr. Mayor, look what we found trying to sneak into the kingdom. As the mayor stepped out from behind his desk, the changeling replied, I told you, you've got it all wrong. I wasn't trying to sneak in. I was trying to sneak out. The mayor approached. Sneak out? What do you mean? I landed here after being tossed from Canterlot like a rag. Dull, the changeling said. I must find my queen. As her subject, I must make sure she is safe. One of the guards spoke to the mayor. It was just yesterday that Queen Chrysalis and her army of changelings were cast out of Canterlot. If I were to guess, I would say that this creature is one of the changelings that attacked the city. The mayor replied, yes, but the question remains, is he telling the truth? The changeling sighed. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I be? Even Her Majesty knows when she's beat. And trust me, she was beaten. The other guard glared. I don't care what you say, why? Should we believe a changeling who attacked our captain? The changeling gave the guard a sarcastic look. You're a guard, aren't you? You know you have to follow the orders of royalty. With anger, the guard punched the changeling in the stomach. Don't you ever compare me to the likes of you, changeling. As the changeling gripped his gut, gasping for air, the mayor spoke to the guards, take him to Canterlot, we should let Prince Armor handle him. Also, increase security in the city. If his story is true, then there are bound to be more changelings in Equestria. The guards nodded. Should we notify Princess Celestia of this news too? The mayor nodded. Yes, if changelings still roam Equestria unchecked, then it could mean the danger isn't over just yet.